Start. And we should be live. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another session today with Dental Shadowers. Today, we have an exciting session with Alex, a dental technician. Alex, thank you so much for joining. And on that note, the floor is yours to take away.
Thank you so much for having me, and I'm really excited to do this. So let's get going. So my name is Alex. I'm on Instagram, known as probably WAXBAE, but I'll give you a little story about myself and how it all started. And I'm sure you'll have some questions. I'll be more than happy to answer at the end. So I'm originally from Baghdad, Iraq. I was born there, and I stayed there till after the war of 2003. I studied in Iraq and Syria, finishing high school and everything. And then after the war of Iraq, I went to continue my studies in Syria. And I worked in so many things before I went to Syria, including working with as a translator for the U.S. Army and stuff like that. And then I had to change my fate and go to Syria and study dental technology. I moved to Canada in 2011, and I've been working as a dental technician for about 10 years now. The first year was pretty hard for me to work in Canada, but then everything just changed suddenly, and I'll tell you about that later. Um, the things that I like to do in my free time, I play soccer, and I do a lot of quadding. I play guitar, and I do a lot of art at home when I'm not working, especially after the quarantine. We had a lot of free time to work on some art and stuff like that. Graduated from the high school in Syria and left Iraq after the war, like I said, and then I joined the nanotechnology program in Syria, Hama, and it's a diploma. They give you a diploma of dental technology and maxillofacial restorations. And I don't know if you can see the picture of it here,
Yeah,
but
I can see it.
it's actually a used to be a bomb bunker from the war, and then it turned into a kindergarten and then into dental technology school. It's pretty interesting building from the inside, and still have some good memories there. Graduated in 2011, moved to Canada after the war in Syria again, and then when I arrived to Canada, I shadowed and worked with many dental labs, but I didn't feel comfortable working in many of those places. Didn't feel like I can actually let myself go and be creative because they want you to do a certain thing a certain way, and that wasn't my way of doing things. And I'll talk about that as well later. So I had to quit so many places that I worked at because of how they wanted things done. And yeah, I ended up in so many places around Canada, and then I finally settled here in Red Deer, Alberta. I worked so many things, of course, the first year that I moved here to Canada because nobody was going to hire someone who just moved to Canada with no experience. So it was pretty challenging in the beginning, working as so many things, and in the back of your head is always like, well, I'm a dental technician. I shouldn't be doing that. I should be doing something else. But yeah, with a little patience, I think it pays off at the end. So what is a dental technologist or a dental technician? Just to make something clear, I'm a denture technician. I graduated as a dental technician, specialized in bridges and crowns and also ortho and maxillofacial restorations. But then when I moved to Canada, I knew that, or I found out that you could be a denture technician, which is someone who works only with removables. Working as a denture technician, that means that you be working in a denture clinic, and I'll also talk about that later. So, as a dental technician or a denture technician, I'm working right now in a something called a dentures clinic. It's in Red Deer. Dentures clinic is, I don't know if you guys have it in the states or there, and it's we have a denturist who is qualified to deal with patients directly and talk to them and also do consultation stuff like that. We don't need the doctor, so patients can come in directly to our clinic, and we deal with the patients directly, and we make everything here in house. So just to talk in general about who is a dental technician, not just a denture technician. Is a member of the dental team who we can actually work with dentists as well. So if a dentist sends us a case, we'll work with that. But if a patient wants to come directly to our place, we can help them with that too. So a dental technician will be repairing and making so many things such as fixed and removable prosthesis, which is fixed like crowns and bridges, and removable is what I'm doing right now is dentures, partials, and ortho as well, but we don't do it here, but we could. Kind of procedures that we do here, not just here, so I'm talking in general right now, and then I'll tell you about what I do here. Design and repair dental devices like the dentures, crowns, bridges, inlays and onlays, and casting gold. So that's another lab. So for any metal work that we do here, we actually send it to another city to do it because we're not a metal lab. And of course, making ortho, pouring and trimming models or casts. As I said, the frameworks, we don't do that here. And also another thing is that we could consult with a doctor or a dentist or a technician, a denturist, to, for complicated cases, they'll be calling us and it'll be like, this patient want this thing or this patient want that. And we take pictures and we compare with all pictures and we try to make the best dentures for them. And or they can just come directly here, and we have a denturist who will be making all of those calls, and also I'll be there attending just to have a look at aesthetics and stuff like that. Maybe after a few years of experience, you will be able to train and supervise other dental technicians. So in large labs, usually, and the way I worked in many labs, and the way it works is that when there's a senior dental technician and someone just newly hired, they will be supervised by that senior dental technician, and then he or she will guide them all the way. How to become a dental technician? I actually get this question a lot on Instagram, and about like someone who is a hygienist who wants to switch careers, or someone who is just thinking of switching to removables because they hate fixed, or fixed and they hate removables, they want to go fixed. And there's a lot of questions that I get, and it's just sometimes it's confusing because people ask you, what should I pick for a career? And I feel like it's a pretty challenging thing to answer. And I don't like answering that question most of the time. But I give them my advice and tell them about what I suffer from, what I love about my job, and then that's how it goes. So the qualifications and skills that you need to become a denture technician vary. So here in Canada, I'm going to speak about that in specific because I don't know how it goes in the States. In Canada, actually, what we have is that you do not specifically need a degree to work as a denture technician or even dental technician. What all you need is experience. So maybe if you have some experience in that, you've been working with someone, and then you find a job, or you can go to a dental technology program, which is 2 years or 3 years here, I think, and then you will have a certificate, and then after completing the 2-year program, you'll become a certified dental technician. Or you can take a challenging exam. So if you have 5 years of experience, I think, you can do a challenge exam at the college. And if you pass, you will earn the CDT title. Let me know if I'm going too fast or something, but trying to...
No, you're all good.
So here's just some advice that I usually tell if somebody's asking me, is like, I'm going to this, and what do you recommend and stuff like that. And what I like to, this is just a warm up. I will have the real advice at the end of this. And but one of the most important things that I found was marks. I was the worst student in my class, and I like all my focus was on making something good, making something that looks good, and of course works, and have my own style in doing dentures, especially. as I said, I studied the whole dental technology program. So, like I studied fixed and removables, but for removables, I'm talking, I was really bad. And yeah, I see a lot of students nowadays asking me that, their degrees are not great. Are they going to be able to do good, or are they going to be able to be good dental technicians? And I can't really answer that because it's all up to you and what are your ambitions and what you want to do. But all I can say is that if you feel like your degrees are bad at school, that does not matter. Just get a passing mark and get out of there. Meanwhile, enjoy the good days, because those are the fun days. The easy days is our college. You may think that it's not, but it's actually the easy days are those. Once you're in the real life and real lab and real cases, that's when the pressure begins. So enjoy those days with your friends and everything. The other thing that I notice, and I speak that from a personal experience, is instructors or doctors at the college, that they always try to break you down, and they try to shatter your confidence for some reason. And I also got this question a lot about students who suffer from their instructors, and they just like don't pay attention. They're not willing to help. They expect you to do perfect job from the first year, and this is pretty sad. And I think this is mostly schools in the Middle East that happens a lot. And yeah, I can't say about like the whole world. And of course, in school, that's when you start shaping your own style, and you start creating uh, that way of work that people recognize just by looking at when you're in the future, when you have your own lab. And yeah, that's a great one. Typical day at the clinic here. It's called a clinic. It's not just a lab, so it's a clinic and a lab, because the front of this place, I'll show you in a bit, is a clinic where we accept patients directly coming to us. And we have the lab, which is this right here. I start working at 9, from 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. Never had to work weekends so far. First thing we do is we're a small staff. We're only 3 here, so we just huddle and warm up, because you know how it is when you start working in a place where you don't say a word and stuff like that. You need to kind of talk to somebody at work, get warmed up to work, and see how they're doing, if they're having a good day or a bad day. So that, and it's pretty important for team building and stuff like that. um, I go to the lab, turn all the equipments on, because most of our equipments require some boiling water or to be hot to work. And especially here in Canada, it's cold. So overnight they get cold, and we turn them on and check the schedule. And the schedule we put right there. I see what do we have for inserts, or what do we have for processing that has to be done today because it's delivered, or if we have something urgent or something changed when I'm not here. And then yeah, we start planning the day based on that. So we all know, because as I said, I work, it's me, the dental technician, and then we have a denturist. So I have to kind of make parts of the day and know what to do. And especially working like on waxing while processing something. And this is multitasking, which is mentioned there as well, is a very important thing to have, is when you can focus on multiple stations. Like in the places that I worked before, and they're like a huge labs, they have stations. So you'll be like waxing all day and sending it to someone else. Somebody else would be like processing all day. Someone else is trimming all day. And I didn't like that, because you'll be, let's say, good at waxing, but not good at um, trimming or processing, or you'll be good at that and not at waxing. So I like to kind of circulate all the time and do all of these things at the same time. So while I'm waxing something, I have something like set in plaster waiting for that. I just don't sit and wait for it to set and then go work on it. Like always invest in time, because time is money. And yeah, I do daily post on Instagram, and sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, based on how busy we are when the day starts. And get to work. Lunch, I don't even know what that is, because it's I eat when I'm hungry. I never take lunch break exactly at 12. I never drop what's in my hand because it's lunchtime. I eat whenever I could. And as I said, multitasking is very important. And before we closing time, just like now, we disinfect the whole clinic and close down in preparation for next day.
I see that you have all the monster bottles at the top of the shelf.
Yeah, I'll show you. Well, you got to stay awake. So, instruments and equipments that we use, a lot of people think is like, oh, I don't know about dental technology, but they'll think we're not doctors. That's, I should make that clear at the beginning. We're not doctors. We're technicians. We're blue collar people. So we just work with what you're seeing right there. We have tools that are rusty. We have tools that are just in, you know, bad shape, and we also work with hammers and screwdrivers and stuff like that. And yeah, everything has its own. So yeah, we don't really work like in a dentist kind of environment where everything has to be pristine and clean and stuff like that, because everything is going to boiling water. So those are my tools. A lot of people ask me about them. Can you see them well here while I'm having?
Yeah, I can see them.
So yeah, um, we have these are my favorite. These actually are the tools that I um, got it from the last place that I worked at, and I worked for one of the oldest denturists in a province of Manitoba here in Canada. And he's the one that taught me everything and taught me about the confidence that I needed in order to be successful in this. Because if you're always shaky, if you're always not sure about your work or the way you do things, you will not go far. You will make it, but you'll not go far, and your work will not improve. So it's always important to be confident in your work. We all make mistakes. Nobody's perfect, and nobody will always this is something that I always go by, is like, you will never always say that I know everything in this job, because every day you're learning something, and no matter how old you are. Like the guy that I worked for was a 73 years old, and he was always learning new things every day, like, oh, this thing. And I just, it's amazing. So this is my tools, and this is what I use, like the hammers and screwdrivers and everything. That's for processing. The right side is for waxing and everything. Let me give you a quick tour of the clinic and show you.
Alex, if you don't mind, if you're gonna do the tour, do you mind stop sharing, and then I can also turn on my camera so they can see like a bigger picture?
Okay, yeah, I could.
Perfect, thank you.
Is it good now?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Right. So I'll show you here. So we have the front area right here, and this is where the receptionist and the patients will be sitting. And then we have a room here, like an op room for the patients. It's just like a dentist chair we have here. And yeah, we do everything here with the patients. We have that machine that I posted a couple of days ago about how it works, and people loved it actually. I thought it was old, but now I respect it even more. And yeah, we have impression materials and things like that. And we have disinfecting room before anything goes to the lab. It must be in this room, must be cleaned and disinfected. And then the lab is where the magic happens. This is the bench. It's a full bench, custom made, and I do waxing on one side and trimming and all the dirty stuff on the other side. And that's one of the things that I always pay attention to, is to keep the wax clean and everything. Um, I have, those are just names and countries, people following me on Instagram. I did that last year. People were sending me where they are from, and it's amazing just to have them as inspiration. And yeah, I like looking at it. This here is the dewaxing machine. It's a boiler unit. So this is where, after processing, before processing and after investing, everything goes here. This is the IvoCap machine, which is an injection machine. I got something going on here, and yeah, I got this here. Hydraulic press, can't go without it. And all the cases work for tomorrow, and all the monsters waiting for me. So I think we're good here. I'll share my screen again. All right.
Perfect.
It was quick. Yeah, I knew. Um, New technology indentures. This is a pretty interesting topic because, as you know, we're still doing it um, the old way of processing dentures. Not very old, not very old school. We're not compression packing. It's ivocap, so it's kind of right there. But the technology is changing and it's changing pretty fast, and we're trying to keep up. And I feel like every day waking up, I'm trying to battle the computer on who's going to make a better product. And so far, I'm seeing that I've never seen anything that come out of digital dentures that looks appealing to me. No offense there, but it's just the way it is. And you have a live example here. Um, this is digital denture, and this is the one that is waxed and ready to go. So some of the new technologies that we have right now is the 3D scanners, which is it scans the impression. You can actually take the impression and you can scan it instead of pouring it, and then you'll have it. Or you can actually scan the mouth, and that will be your impression, and that's a 3D impression. You have printed dentures that will be printed from um, material that you use for that. I'm not really keen
I
on
believe
that.
it's resin.
Yeah, but I'm not sure of the names of them and everything because I haven't spent a lot of time on them. They're
Mm.
the milled ones, and I saw that one in Lab Day in Chicago, and they had those milled ones there. Um, and then they have that one that right here in the bottom right that you can see, which is pretty scary to me because what you have to do here is that you actually you mill the base and then you put some repair acrylic in those sockets and then you press the arch on and then you just wipe the excess, and it looks, the final product does not look so great until there's something that is what we want to look. And denture wise, I think we'll keep doing handmade until there's something that we like, because so far we're not liking anything and we don't see like it's saving a lot of time. Um, but that's the great thing about this job. Probably if it was all digital, I would have never even joined dental technology, because what we like about this is the handmade products. It's something that you make with your hand. It's you spend time on it, you take care of it. When you make someone happy, you feel like you've done that, not the computer while you're designing it. I know, but yeah, it's pretty complicated at the moment, but we'll see what the future holds for digital dentures. Here are some of the important terms in dental technology. Something that we, lots of things we say, and as I said, I worked in a lot of places, and actually some of the places call things differently, and there's so many terms for the same thing, and it's always confusing. But my favorites are when we say waxing, and if you say that to someone who's not in that field, they'll be like, waxing what, like hair removal? And we have festooning, which is characterizing and carving the wax to mimic the natural gingiva. And the other confusing thing is the directions and the numbering of teeth, because I think every
Yeah, we're
country,
we're 1 to 16 and then 16 to 32. So I'm
yeah,
looking at it like
it's
different.
so confusing, because when people, like, we know all of them, but what we use here in Canada is that system was the quadrant, and I find it very easy to know it that way than going from like 1 to 32, or yeah, the other systems that they have there. And also during school, I remember my main struggle was with the directions and how like quickly you need to be like, oh, distal this way, oh, mesial this way, and buccal and labial and all these things. So these are very important to know in your first year, preferably, and it will get you going. The other thing is, which is a personal kind of experience, is studying in a different language. I'd recommend learning the English terms for dental technology, because I know in Syria, at least, they use Arabic language for everything. So I struggled for the first few years here trying to link it in my mind and rewire my brain to think, what does this mean, and what was that in Arabic and stuff like that. So if you are someone who is coming to Canada to work and you studied in a different language than English, then I highly recommend you learn all the terms in English. And one of my favorite things that I heard from my older boss was, "We'll see how it looks in the mouth," which is something that when somebody has a lot of credit, they'll say it is when they're so confident in their work and they're doing something, and you make a minor objection and be like, "But what if this doesn't work here?" And it's like, "We'll see how it looks in the mouth," and that's my favorite. So we're gonna talk about cases here, and I have a couple of videos for you to show. Um, the first case I'm going to talk about in a second, but what we get here, so let's say that you're a lab that does everything. So the important things that you need to make the best prosthesis, at least, is, of course, you have to know, just because of how you want to detail your work. So you will need those things, which is very important, is the gender, age, and you will also look at old photos. If we're working with surgical dentures, which is after a full exo, you will need some casts of the pre-extraction. So before they go take their teeth off, we would like to have a model of that. And also existing dentures, that's when somebody comes to our clinic with a denture that they like something about it, but they don't like something else. So we try to kind of work with them to make a better denture. So these are informations are very vital in the lab, and we call it a prescription. So if it's coming from a dentist and we're a denture clinic, they will send the patient. So this made it a lot easier. We don't need any of those written, because I will look at them. I'll take the picture. I'll ask them for old photos if possible, and this is a great thing. And if a patient comes in directly to us here with no teeth at all, we would do a first try-in based on what they said they like about their teeth, not too big, not too wide, not showing too much gum or stuff like that. And we will be using those information to do a trial stage, which is all in wax. And that's what most of my work on Instagram you'll see is in wax, is before the try-in. And people will have that try-in appointment. They'll see it and they'll be like, "I don't like this one, I don't like this, can you change this, can you change that?" Or they'll be, "That's perfect." And that's when it gets processed into acrylic. So here are some of the cases that I have. And as you can see here, this one here from the left is, that's one of my favorite cases, actually. A young lady came in and she just didn't like her natural teeth that you can see here in the bottom left. And she wasn't feeling very confident about smiling, and she decided to remove all her teeth, which is another thing that a lot of people ask sometimes, is like, "Oh man, why did they took all her teeth off? Why did they extract all her teeth?" So sometimes teeth are beyond redemption, so it cannot be restored, it cannot be held together. They're mobile, they're just like in the worst possible condition. So the best way and the easier way to do it is to get a full exo, and we set immediate dentures. So she was okay with that. It's all up to them. We do not force them to do anything. So she went and got full extraction, and then yeah, we set up those teeth based on what she wanted. She actually brought a picture of someone else, and she said, "I want my teeth to be like that." And what I did is that I magnified the picture and tried to mimic exactly how the teeth looked in the picture, and it worked. It worked great on her, and she was never happier. And yeah, I like it. The second one here from the left is also a patient that had mobile teeth, and they don't look bad, but they were just moving. We were even worried to take the impression, and they were like, "Well, I don't like my current teeth, but I don't want something different that people suddenly will recognize that I have something different about me." And we try to make something very similar to the natural teeth. This one here is an example of a case of someone who had denture, worked for so long until it was looking like that. And then that patient wanted to show more teeth, a little wider teeth. And that was the result. He was very happy. And that last one here is also a great case of this young lady that she wanted to remove her teeth, but she didn't want a straight teeth because she didn't want people to notice that she got dentures. And that's when I love my job, because those are the challenges that I wake up in the morning to tackle. And when she wanted that, I was like, say no more, I got you. So I took pictures of her teeth, and she went to the surgeon. She got all her teeth removed, and then she came back to us um, with the denture, because we usually the patient comes in here, we set up the teeth, we give it to the patient on the day of extraction. They'll take it to the surgeon. The surgeon will have the teeth, will pull their naturals and immediately put the surgical. That's why they're called surgical dentures, and they work very well for the first few hours, because they work like a splint, just like a bandage you have on your teeth. So the swelling don't go out of control, and all these things that I'm not really aware of because I'm not a doctor, but I've noticed a few cases where they removed their denture after like a few hours of the extraction because they were hurting so much, and they can't put it back on because the swelling just gone too bad. And yeah, they come to us the next day complaining that the denture don't fit. I was like, don't do not remove it for at least 24 hours. And yeah, that's also my favorite case, because we managed to give her very close looking. And when I posted that one on Instagram, people were saying, were asking if this is actually just a cleanup done to the teeth, and it made me really
That's the
happy.
first time I've seen someone mimic like like the old look, but with like a denture.
Yeah,
Usually people want like a perfect denture and they don't want to like have the old look.
yeah,
So yeah, it's cool to see how you did that.
it's amazing. Yeah, it's one of my favorite. And right now I have a video for you about how we make those dentures, and I'll try to explain it as we run that video. You don't really need this video is not on my channel yet because I uploaded on January 17 for this event. So this patient here, full exo, upper and lower, as you can see. So we took impressions to the dentist, to the patient, and we sent them to the dentist for extraction. So what we do here is, as you can see, I'm removing the natural teeth on the cast and mimicking the extraction that's going to be done. It's very important that we do not overdo it, because then that will create some pressure spots. So I remove the teeth only and a little bit of the tissue to give me some space. And now you trim the teeth. These are top of the line teeth that we use, and it takes a long time for immediates or surgicals, because you're trying to copy something and you may or may not be able to do it based on how much space you got.
So those aren't milled, right? Those are topical.
Yeah, they're straight from the card, and we mill them to shape
Right.
because the patient wanted, or at least what they expect. So right here is the most important step: is how is that going to look, the centrals, after trimming them. I think trimming is the hardest part in this job when you're doing immediates. As you can see, I don't have any fingertips anymore.
And the that's wax, right? The gum.
So yeah, it's all set up in wax at the moment, and there's not going to be any try-in. Yeah, because people will be like, that wax is stuck to the cast. How are you going to remove it? We don't. This goes straight to process because the patient is getting their teeth removed. So we have no time.
But when you process it, do you process it with the plaster and stone, or do you
Yeah,
take?
I'll probably, I think I have it in this video. We process the whole model with everything, and it's pretty neat. And yeah, we set up the posteriors. I like to work the upper and then I work the lower. Some people do it differently. There's no wrong or right way of doing it. That's how I'm taught. And now the lower. This is just the basic base plate wax that I use. And this is the same wax that I use for all waxing, unless it's colored, which is another thing. And then start setting up the interior. No, probably the posterior one, that one. And then, yeah, I was doing that one right here.
I'm sure there's a lot of pressure, like not messing up, like the look of things.
Yes. So when you don't have a try-in stage, which is where you correct all your errors and what the patient like or not, that's when it gets kind of making me nervous, because you're doing something based on what you heard, what you looked at from pictures, and you're hoping, because that patient's going to pull all their teeth. There's no second chance, and they're gonna put those new dentures, and that's when they're going to be either happy or shocked. No complaints so far, so that kind of gives you some confidence when you're doing something or judging what they like and not. I like to start with the molars and then go to the front, because it's very important to know the spacing of everything with those immediates. It's not like your typical case where everything will fall in place. You'll have to trim some of the teeth. You'll have to move some of the teeth out of place a little bit. You may break some rules just to get things to work. And then that will be one side.
So you're placing all of these teeth like based off your prior knowledge of like the anatomy and
Yes.
structure
So,
of the teeth?
yeah, we would know where the lower will interdigitate with the upper, and how the cusps and everything. And yeah, that's it's all in place in that case. That's why I posted it. It's almost like a typical case, but it's not really. It's just because I pre-trimmed the teeth so they're falling in place.
Mhm.
But each clip that I did, I had to like stop it, trim the tooth really good, and put it back on, and then start filming, because yeah, it will be a 2 hours
Showing
video.
the trimming and everything.
Yeah.
No, that's super impressive.
And then yeah, I'm trying to move it a little bit here. And then we start setting the interiors. And that's where you know if you messed up or not, is when you start setting the interiors while the posteriors are set. If you did not follow all the spacing correctly, you will not have space for the interiors to be in. And now waxing, I'm using the same wax here. And as I said, if I'm doing something that I needed off the model, I would actually not do it that way. But this one, because I know if the wax gets stuck to the stone, I don't have to remove it. So I'm going a little crazy on it with overheating it and gluing it.
Does it come right off, or do you have to break the stone sometimes?
You mean when it's wax or when it's acrylic?
You said you don't take it off when it's wax, right? You only take it off when it's
When
processed.
it's wax and there's a try-in stage, you will have to be able to get it off the model, off the cast.
Oh, so to show the patient.
Yes, but here you can see there's no way this is coming out of the cast, because it's just seared on.
Wax on wax on wax.
Yeah, and yeah, if I try to take that off, I'll probably wreck it. But we don't have to, because it's going straight to processing.
So when it's a try-in, you don't put as much wax, so you can take it off easily.
I would be more careful.
Easily.
I'll put the same wax, but I'll be more careful of where the wax is pouring and kind of like dripping and sticking. And also, I will separate the model or the cast before I put wax on it. So I'll put like a light layer of Vaseline or soak it in water, Once you soak the stone in water, nothing will stick to it. Like if it's
Okay.
really good and wet cast, nothing will stick to it, even the wax. And yeah, this method is different from what I usually do. This is called I call it the strip method, which is I just put a strip of wax and kind of like go like this with the spatula. Are we doing on time? Are we good?
Yeah, I think we have like 20 minutes. Don't worry about the time though. Don't worry about that.
We're
Take as
good.
long as you want.
So this is also, I did it off camera because it will take so long. It's festooned, as you can see, like those contours and how the light reflects off of them, but they're not carved. So the necks here, they're not very clean around the teeth. And that's what I'm gonna be doing right now, which because you want that defined kind of gingival line and neck. So we do that, and we do the upper as well. And then let me see, because this is kind of boring stuff, even though it's very relaxing to watch. Some people
It's
like to watch.
satisfying, yeah.
So festooning is something like people ask me sometimes, is like, how do you do that? Or, teach me how to festoon. And it's in a comment. And it's not something that would be taught in a comment. It's something has to be done over time and over in order to get to it. It's not something that you will learn from one time.
Festooning, you mean by like
So
carving?
that carving and that kind of like making it look natural around the
Right.
teeth. Right here, I'm using an alcohol torch, which is just a squeeze torch. You fill it with alcohol and you squeeze it lightly. Don't go too crazy on it because you may start a fire. And it's a light flame that whatever detail you do in the wax, it will actually be maximized. So if you have, let's say, a scratch and you light it up with the flame, it will turn into a bigger scratch, or it will be actually a dot, a huge dot. And you have to be careful how to work it and how much to squeeze. This is done now, and it's ready to be processed. As I said, it turned it to an acrylic. This is just shined, and people ask me how I shine the wax, and it's usually by just using soap and water and sometimes wax solvent. And I have many
So
videos.
right now, this is where it's processed.
So no, this is still wax, and then it's going to go to be processed.
Acrylic.
And this is the case of getting processed. So this is just a stone or plaster. This is called investment. And let's see. I put a little soap and water because when you add the top on it, you don't want it to stick together. So what I'm doing here is that I create a layer that later on, when I put it in that machine that I show you for boiling the wax, it will actually separate. The top part will come off without breaking or without sticking to the second part. This is the IVO cap. So every machine is different. There's the IVO base. And there's also the compression packing, which is the old school of doing it with the brass flask, which I think what they use in schools. And now you see the top is a stone and plaster mixed, which is the yellow stuff. And this is hotter than the white stuff, and it gives a better impression, and it will take a better details.
Wait, so on top of it, are you putting more stone or is that?
Yeah, so the top part will be 50-50 mix of stone, hard stone, and plaster, which is the same stuff that I used. That's the machine that I showed you. It needs to be a boiling water. We put it in for, I think, 12 minutes. And then the IvoCap capsules, we pre-mix that. And then now all the wax is eliminated.
So why did you have to put stone on top of it?
So in order to take a negative impression of every detail that you did, and that's how you process it. So what I did here is, you remember the wax that was on, it was all nice and beautiful and shiny.
Right.
You took impression of it with that yellow stone, and then you eliminate that wax. And then when you open it, the wax is gone, but you still have the details in the stone part, which is the top there. You see here, now the teeth are left and the stone is gone. We put separator. This is a very important step, because if you don't, you will have the acrylic stick into everything. And now we put in hydraulic press. Put the acrylic capsule, which is not cooked yet, which is like a dough. And then we inject for about 10 minutes. After the 10 minutes, that water has to be boiling. You set it in, and now it sits for about 35 minutes. After 35 minutes, you cool it down. You could cool it down immediately because you have a constant pressure on it. Otherwise, you're not supposed to put it in cold water. And now it's done. You open it up. So now what you're gonna see is actually the acrylic. This is hard acrylic, and this is what's will be going in the mouth. It's only trimmed. It's not polished yet. We polish it with pumice, and this works just like a smoothing, like a sandpaper. Get rid of any imperfections or any rough surfaces. And then this is a complete shine one that is ready for delivery. So the patient will come probably the same day or next day. He will take that that denture. We'll take it with them. We'll go to the extractions. We'll get the extractions done. The dentist will put them immediately in, and they will come to see us after 24 hours of insertion of that denture, because now it's out of the dentist. He does not need to see the dentist anymore. He's going to be seeing us a lot. And I'm going to talk about that later, why. Another case, which is, I'll go pretty quickly on that one. It's called an OAC, which is an oral antral communication. It's an unnatural communication between the oral cavity and the maxillary sinus, and it usually happens in a like infected roots or extractions that goes bad, or even it could be like a trauma, it could be a fracture, it could be a cyst, it could be tumor, or an implant failure. So what happens is, at least for the case that we got, was in the vestibule, in the buccal direction, and they actually came in with a denture that's been made somewhere else. That denture was just a straight denture that did not block that communication. So the patient had a lot of issues, and he wasn't really happy with that denture. So the denture needed reline. So what we did is, I'll show you in the video here. We did the reline, and then we did a cool thing on it that worked as a plug that will be plugging that hole, and the patient, let me just, because there's not actually a lot of, so what we did here is we took compression with alginate, and then we poured it in a split cast way, because when you are actually opening it, you don't want to break that little nipple right there. So you can see here, we let it dry, and then we pour another layer on top of it. This is when you have a delicate work that you don't want to mess up. because you don't want to call that patient again for another impression. That's my nightmare. So we're pouring it here. This is the same stuff that I used, but this one is 100% stone, very hard stone. We use that for pouring impressions. After it's dry, we remove the impression tray. You can see it's all in there. So you have to remove it. Here I'm duplicating that original cast because when we're gonna do a reline on that original cast, during deflasking, like you saw in the previous case, it will get wrecked. So there will be nothing left. And I need that cast to work on after the reline is done. So the reline will be done with hard acrylic. I didn't have impression like duplicating flasks, so I was doing this. Now I have them. This is just like a wax. I'm gluing it right to the table. You gotta improvise sometimes when you're not ready. This is duplicating material, which is in A and B, like a catalyst and a base. 50-50 mix. You mix it all together, and then you duplicate it. Then that original cast that I have right there goes to the reline, and the one that I'm going to be duplicating will stay with me for the after. That's when we do the plug. I like working on unusual cases because sometimes you get bored of the same thing, just like the same setting up teeth and waxing and stuff like that. So when something like that happens, I like to get it on camera because it's pretty interesting. So we pour that duplicating material here. Let it sit for about, I think, 10 or 15 minutes. Then it's like a silicone mold. We take the original off. I give that to the processing. And then this one I will pour and it will be ready. So after processing the reline, this is what came out. This is hard acrylic. So that little nipple here is also hard acrylic. So what I did is that I reduced the size of it and I used something called Easy Soft. It's a soft reline. It's like a rubber. So this is the duplicate here that I duplicated. You add that stuff to it. You have a bonding agent that you must put on like a primer. And then you put that Easy Soft material in there. And I made a little hole in the cast on the other way. You can't see it here, but you'll see it later for all the excess to come out. And then you press the denture on. This is a reline denture ready to go. So now it's all rubber. And that little vent is for excess. You trim it with like the mouth guard brushes and trimmers, and now you have it. So you can see here that the patient had it on, and when they put it on, it goes and clog that that little communication there, and then they can breathe and talk normally and everything. I don't know why the screen stopped.
I think you stopped sharing. Yeah.
Yeah, probably. So that is another thing is what kind of complaints patients present with here. As I said, most of the not a complaints, but it's very common in dentures and like in dentures in general is the adjustments. Is when you have a new denture, of course, there's going to be some things, some sore spots, some pressures in some spots, and also discomfort. Because if you're used to a denture that you wore for 10, 15 years, we had people even with 20 years of the same denture, and then suddenly you are wearing something new that fits better, sits in a new places, pressure new places, you will feel like, why did I get a new denture? And this is one of the things that people come up with. They'll be like, got a sore spot here, something like that. Most of the time, it's just like that. The other thing is the relines. So after extraction, you can see here in the picture, after extraction, we try to explain to people that when you lose your teeth, you're actually, the bone will start shrinking and you will lose retention. And that could be a problem, especially the lower that we suffer with most of the time with patients. And we do a permanent reline. We do temporary first for at least a year until the bone settles down, it cannot shrink anymore, and then we go with a permanent. So that's one of the things that sometimes it scares me, because when a patient get a full exo and they have dentures, these are their new looks, that's their new teeth, and then the lower starts getting loose, and then they'll be shocked. They'll be like, well, I removed my teeth for this and now these are not staying in place. And that's when it's kind of frustrating, because you try to work your best to make it work, but sometimes you just cannot work against physics. And the best way to do it is to get implants and stuff like that.
I have
So
a question. How long
sure.
does it take, after they remove all their like let's say the exo
Yeah.
and like the bone starts shrinking, how long do you have to wait to take an impression to make the denture to allow the bone to stop shrinking?
So the denture will be already inserted on the day of the extraction. But if you're talking about when does the bone start shrinking, we give it a year. It's different. It's based on age, health, and so many factors. But we usually give it a year. But throughout that year, we will have temporary lines that we can actually peel off. And then we do another one to make it fit better. And you go for another month or two. And then you come back to us and we'll do another session. But the thing is, you cannot go with permanent from the get go, because that bone will keep changing on you, and it'll be a losing battle.
Right.
So yeah, we give it a year usually. So that's one of the things, is the retention that people come up with, and especially when it's the lower and even the upper, because the upper will start dropping down, and we try to explain to them that this is what's happening, and sometimes they believe us, sometimes they don't. The other thing is when you process, as I show you, like it's a long process and it has so many things. A lot of things that could go wrong within like 1 millimeter or two. We keep in mind, like there's a shrinking, there's like cooling, there's heating and expansion and stuff like that. So it's very important to know that you may have some variation, like within 1 millimeter or even less of sometimes biting. So you'll feel like, well, when you gave me the try-in, I didn't bite that high on this end. Well, the try-in was in wax, so when you're biting hard, you're actually sinking in the wax. But what we do is just a little adjustments. We have some biting sheets. They bite on it. We see where it is that it's bothering them, and this is very simple. We don't get a lot of it because with IvoCap, you don't have to suffer that much with the shrinkage and those issues of not fitting or biting high. And the other thing is repairs, of course. And dentures that are old, horseshoe dentures that has like a weak spot, like the one I have in the picture there, tend to break most of the time. People with very thin dentures, because they're old, they'll break them as well. And that's something that we get most of the time. With IvoCap, the acrylic that we use, those little capsules, they're actually high impact, so they're very hard to break. But usually, compression packed dentures that are old, like done the old school, they break, and they come to us to fix it. Here's the real advice that I have for the students or future lab techs. It's very important to know before you get into that field, that even before you get into that field, that it's an art. It is something that you're going to have to use your imagination, use your artistic skill. If you're lacking those, I'm not saying you shouldn't join it, but you should work on that part, because it is actually art and science. And I would say 50-50. So that's something very important. The other thing that we're all scared of doing, but in this job you must do, is making mistakes. Avoiding to make the mistake will always lead to a bigger problems. So in my way, in my thinking, is to get that mistake, learn from it, and then you'll know. And I still do do big screw ups every now and then, breaking teeth and stuff like that. But I learn, so I make sure it doesn't happen again. it happens again, but I make sure it doesn't happen again. Never panic. So you will be at some points where you are very busy, under pressure, a patient's waiting, new orders coming in, and stuff like that. It's very important to not panic, because once you panic, you lose focus, and once you lose focus, you cannot do your best. Maintain healthy posture. This is very important if you've been doing it for a while or after you do it for a while, but it's good. Nobody taught me that, and now I suffer from a lot of neck pain and back pain. Is your posture when you're working. Always pay attention to that. I cannot stress that enough, honestly. I was stressing more than anything else on that list, because if you don't have good health, you will not do this job for too long. And 10 years is nothing compared to some of the technicians that I've met that have been working for 40 or 50 years. So in 10 years to have that pain, that's not a good start. But I was taught wrong in the beginning. So here's my advice to you: do yoga, stretch, whatever makes you happy. Always work with the proper lighting. This is very important. I have a lot of, I have a good lighting in the ceiling, and I have also portable lighting that I use if I'm working somewhere where it doesn't have enough lighting. It's very important for your eyes, and also if you want to make something beautiful and detailed, and you want to see how things reflect off of it, especially when you're doing festooning, which is the carving. Keeping the hand moving. This, I put that on because we shut down for a while. So it's very important that you keep doing what you're doing. If you're in school, that's great. Or if you're going back to school, if you're working, this is great. But those times where you're like, let's say if you're in school and you're not anymore because of the pandemic or for some reason, or you have a time off or holidays or vacation, and or if you're working and you got shut down again for the same reasons and stuff like that, it's very important to keep the hands moving, that you do things at home that it requires some finesse and details, and it's very important for you to do that. If I go on Friday, I don't work Saturday and Sunday, come back on Monday, and it feels like I've never done this job. Everything is stiff. You just kind of slow in the beginning, and it takes about half an hour. Then you get going and all fast and good. But it's very important to always practice your hands. So do art at home. Do something that requires a lot of detailing. If you are, as you can see, I'm talking about denture technician mostly here. But if you make crowns and bridges or even dentures, it's very important that you look at natural pictures of teeth and gingiva, and just stare at them. I just had to change this last year, at the end of last year, to put those things, but I used to have natural pictures of teeth on the wall, and gingiva, and people just like healthy gingiva, different shapes, different stuff, and just like to look at it and kind of like get a feeling of how things sometimes are, and like in relation to the age, the health, and stuff like that. I don't have like all perfect pictures. There are some bad ones as well, because sometimes you have to make them like that or they'll look fake. I mentioned that earlier, is there's no stop in learning, and that guy was 73 years old, 72, I can't remember, and he said every day he's learning something new, and that's something that I go by, is like, there's no way, no matter how long you spend in this job, to say that I know everything in this or you're ready for anything in it, because things will come out of the blue and will screw up your whole scheduling. So there's no stop in learning. If you think, which is rarely happening, if you think that school is easy because you have perfect cases, perfect casts and stuff like that, perfect cases, you'll see that in real life casts will be different. It will not be as perfect. You may have some imperfections in it. You may have bubbles. You may have to work a few things around it. Time is money when you're running your own lab, or if you're working. It's very, very important to consume your time wisely, because the minute that you waste is work wasted and time wasted. So you'll be losing money, and that's something that I do sometimes. I'm guilty of because of the social media. Um, I try to create video. I try to help students and stuff like that. I get so many questions about requests about a certain video, and I have to take it and set up my lighting and everything to do that, and I waste time. Um, just to make those videos. But it's worth it at the end. People are learning, so I don't care if I do that every now and then. And most importantly, and that's also in relation to people who try to break you down, always be proud of your work. There is you may not feel like it's perfect. You may feel it's perfect, but always be proud of what you do. Take pictures, share it with your friends. Start social media. I've seen so many accounts that's been joining recently to Instagram. They're just sharing their picture, and it's amazing work. It's great. It's just give you that feeling of like, hey, I'm doing something that I need your support, and it's really a good thing.
Alex, thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm gonna move on to a couple of questions if that's okay with you.
For sure. Yeah.
Perfect. Were you always set on being a dental technician, or did you decide along the way?
No, it's not decided along the way. When I was a kid, I worked with my uncle who was a dentist in his lab, and I kind of fell in love with that job. I didn't finish high school at the time. I wasn't finishing high school, and then when the opportunity came, I decided to join it because I have some basics in it. So yeah, it's been a passion, and I chose it actually over so many things.
Thank you. What do you do if a dentist doesn't provide a good teeth impression or other info that you need? I imagine that having good communication with dentists is very important.
Yes, as I said, like the way we deal with patients with doctors is a little bit different because we don't get a prescription like when we're doing crowns and bridges. They send the patient in, and when they send the patient in, we take pictures, we talk to them and stuff like that, and then we send them back to the dentist for the extraction only. Uh, but the cases that I worked on and it was a model or a cast sent by a dentist and it wasn't good, redo it. We can't work with that. You want a good work, do it again. You may lose that dentist, but hey, I'm not risking my reputation.
Right. Do you ever just make teeth with the goal of improving your art?
Like just like not real case, like a study case.
I think like free time, yeah.
In a free time, yes, I will do some freaky teeth and stuff like that just to practice and get out of the box and start doing something different.
Thank you. And some dentists have said that they worked as a dental lab technicians during their gap year, but it looks very hard. Would they really train someone who is just planning to work 1 year?
They might do that. I cannot answer that question, but some dentists that I know, they actually do their own work, and including my uncle, which is the one that who trained, like I worked with it the first time. He used to have his own lab. He's a dentist, but he does not trust any technician. So he pours his own. He makes his own ortho appliances and stuff like that because he does not trust people, and not all dentists love it.
So I think we have time for one more question. And
Sure.
I know people are confused because you said that the way you do things over there in Canada, you have a denturist
Yes.
and a dentist, right? So what
Yeah.
would you say is the biggest difference between a denturist and a general dentist? Like, why would someone go to a denturist
So a
rather
dentist
than going to a...
specialized in removables and making dentures in general. So he's not allowed to remove teeth, extract teeth, play with teeth, natural teeth, or anything related with natural teeth and tissue. So we only the denturist will be able to handle the patient, take impressions, um, consult with them, but nothing surgical or something related to natural teeth. That has to be done by dentists.
Thank you.
Yeah,
And I
absolutely.
think that's all the time we have. Alex, thank you so much for joining. That
Thank
was
you
a
for
that was a very great session.
yeah.
Everyone, please check out his Instagram. It's WAXBAE underscore. It can be found in the PowerPoint. And I also want to thank everyone for joining. We have a session this Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time with a dental hygienist. And on that note, I hope everyone has a great night. Thank you so much for joining once again.
Awesome. Thank you.